Hey YouTube, this is Dean making another vid. If you like my content, please consider hitting the like button. Also, please consider subscribing, as it is very much appreciated. This is a requested video by Matt, Pearson, Blaze, and Blades. Tips on getting your sparks to land where you want them to. That's the trick, isn't it? And I can try and do that for you, mate. Not a problem. First of all, go and watch my video on the basics of flint and steel. While I have done a video on that, and it's in my playlist. Basically, what I did with that video was a rehash of Mark Horton from Beaver Bushcraft's video on the basics of flint and steel. I basically learned how to do flint and steel off Mark Horton, and who's an expert at flint and steel. And then I did a video on it, and it shows what I learned over the last 18 months of dedicated practice on flint and steel. But these are the tips that I can give on getting the sparks to land where you want them to. If you look, when you're striking on flint and steel, on the flint on the steel on the flint, sorry. When you're striking on your striker, striking your striker onto the stone's edge, you'll see most of the sparks are landing up the top here. Some will fall down the side here, down the bottom, but most of the time they're landing up the top. It's not a really good demonstration there. Here we go. If you see there, sparks, most of the sparks will be landing up the top here. So I'd suggest is get your char cloth. And that brings me to char cloth. Char makes or breaks flint and steel. So I suggest using the best char you can. So with your char cloth, it picks up moisture, so it can go off. So store it in a sealed container that can't get moisture from the air, and only make small batches of it. I was silly. I went and made up a big heap of it, and now I'm paying for that because some of the time my char cloth doesn't pick up spark very well. So I suggest only making up small batches of it and then using it up and then making more of it. So yeah, that's my suggestion with char cloth. Once you get your char cloth, a good batch of char cloth, a small batch of char cloth, get your char cloth, rip it in half. The idea with that is you're exposing those small, the little raggedy edges. And those raggedy edges are what catches the sparks easier. Then lay the two together like that. So you've got double the amount of area to pick up a spark. Then lay it close to the edge as possible. Dominic Minichetti has a really good idea of laying it over, a little bit over, and then rubbing it. I don't actually do that. That's fine. I don't need to do that. But Dom's idea of doing that and then just rubbing it like that way it rubs a little bit off. Don't get rid of them, just like that, and then strike. And as I said, this char cloth is not that good, but you get the idea. If your char cloth's up to scratch, it will pick up an edge. Oh, I've got embers there. I just couldn't see them. Sorry. Your char cloth will pick up the spark. I just rip the edges, rip them like that to expose the raggedy edges, and then I put them as close to the edge as possible. Like that, and then just strike. And it picks it up. And that's my tips. The other one is, and if you want to do it again, is rip it in half. Get 2 lots. Put it up the top, close to the edge as possible, and at the other side. So you've got 4, and then strike. And you pick up. I don't do that as I'm not very good at it because I'm not used to doing it. But that way, you'll find you'll get, you're doubling the amount of chances you get. I see some people do that, and they end up doubling the amount of. The other one that I've seen Mark is he rips his char cloth in half. Mark Horton from Beaver Bushcraft rips his char cloth in half and then folds it over again. So you've got 4 layers. Putting it on the top there. It's all about doubling the amount of getting the most amount of exposure of those raggedy edges, and then striking and picking it up. It's those raggedy edges that pick up the sparks. So to conclude is, get your char cloth, rip it in half, lay it close to the edge as possible, even laying it a little bit over, ripping it off a little bit like that, then striking, taking advantage of the fact that the sparks jump up to the top, landing on those raggedy edges, and then catching. If you're working with quartzite, especially, try for a one-strike catch, because these edges burn out really quick. And I used to advocate not worrying about it, but seeing I've been working with quartzite so much these days, try to go for one-strike catches, because it's economy of motion, and it's efficient, and you save your edge as much as possible just by going one-strike catches. Plus, it's mastery of the craft. I understand that now. Take pride in your work, and strike efficiently, and going for those one-strike catches. I used to advocate not worrying about it, but yeah, I can see why now. Especially now that I've worked with quartzite so much, and these edges burn out really quick. Just as you can see, I'm just working with that stone now. There's a few strikes that I've been doing. The edges are already starting to degrade really quickly, and that's just by working it a couple of strikes, So yeah, so that's my tips. Sometimes it just doesn't. It's just not your day. With flint and steel, you can be working it and you're getting catches, no dramas whatsoever, and then all of a sudden it just doesn't work, and it stops catching for some reason, and it doesn't catch again. So yeah, and sometimes your char cloth is not up to snuff. You'll get a bad batch. For some reason it just doesn't cook properly, and it's a bit brown or something, you just don't notice that the hue of it is not as good, even black or whatever. So yeah, and it just doesn't catch as evenly as it should. So yeah, that's just the way it is. So yeah, sometimes you just have to go with it. So yeah, so hopefully that's my tips anyway. So hopefully you get something from it, and yeah, just have fun with it is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, like you'll find eventually you'll start to see where the sparks are going, because you get used to the way your striker works and how it works with the stone, and you'll see how the sparks are falling. So yeah, and you'll see it, and you'll start getting catches, no worries whatsoever. Because yeah, it can be frustrating, but yeah, it's also very rewarding. So anyway, yeah, I'm starting to ramble. So thanks for watching.